All right, so this is a health tech story, but it's a really unusual one because it evolved out of about 5 years of research trying to figure out how to take a very interesting data set and turn it into a valuable business. So the platform that we've built, SeekingSimple, is a digital platform for obsoleting the health correction diet. How many people have been on a diet that failed? Yeah, so let me tell you the story about diets. So there's a really interesting dynamic in our world today where we've filled our households full of all these processed foods that contain the bulk of the disease-causing agents that are affecting our population. Why did we do that? Because we want the convenience and time savings of those foods, okay? So what happened? Well, we can see exactly what happened in our population. Today we have 60% of our population that has one or more food-related chronic disease, 40% of our population that has two or more. The answer to that problem has been change your lifestyle, go on a diet. Guess what? 95% failure rate. How many of you would take your car back to a mechanic that failed 95% of the time? No one, but this is the standard today. So what's the cost of that failed standard? It's really simple. So for our customer, who is the organizations that pay the healthcare bills, it's estimated by a number of different bodies to be about 1.2 trillion incremental dollars spent on healthcare costs, right? So changing the trajectory of food-related, food-caused disease is a highly lucrative place to operate, okay? So now how do you do this? How do you crack this nut? And this has been the 5-year journey of SeekingSimple. How do you do this in a way that people can really get on board and adopt it and not have the failure rate? Well, we created this really consumer-savvy solution called the Digital Pantry Makeover. And it was built off some very compelling medical evidence that suggested if you go into a pantry, you change the density of certain ingredients in a household pantry, you're going to get a different health outcome. So that's all we do. A digital pantry makeover changes the density of food ingredients in a household, specifically focused on various diseases. So the first one being metabolic disease, so guess what? We reduce sugar. That's all we do. We just reduce sugar and simple carbohydrates. The key to this being successful is we don't change anybody's lifestyle. We change their brands. That's it. Okay, and the process is also super simple. So it's a guided process based on the disease, the food-related disease, to go through the household food supply broadly, right? Scan the items, get a recommendation for a better item at your local store, okay? Not a better item you might be able to capture somewhere. So that means we actually have the local store data about what's there and what the selection looks like that would be a better choice, okay? So what's interesting about this is we've run it in trial, okay? And it's phenomenally successful, just like the medical research would suggest it would be. So this is the results of sugar and carbohydrate suppression from a virtual, pantry makeover done with households. And we had a dramatic positive impact on the key biomarkers that most people worry about. Blood pressure, cholesterol, body mass, things of that nature, blood sugar, all significantly reduced in 90 days. Okay, so and that's the fundamental compelling story of how this ends up being a health tech play at the end of the day. Even though it's this funny consumer pantry makeover idea, right? It's really about population health. So what have we accomplished so far? So we built the platform, we've built the software. This platform has huge amounts of data and it knows every ingredient and every nutritional fact about every product sold in the US and what stores they're sold in and how that relates to disease, okay? And then we basically built the pantry makeover journeys on top of that, ran it in trial, saw it be very successful. We've raised money along the way to support that effort. And probably the most important thing is that we have secured our next clinical trial partner as the VA hospital system. And we're in the last hours of signing our first 7-figure contract for one of our partners because we facilitate pantry makeovers in grocery stores who pay us to do that, right? So, and then we have a massive pipeline of self-insured corporations and insurance companies and others who are paying the bills today. And we're raising a small round of capital right now. We're doing our initial close this week. So that's my story. All right. Cool.